Hello, welcome back to the Lisa Wessan Show, and I'm delighted today to bring you some folks from our Clinicians United group locally in Boston. Today we're looking at healthcare from a global perspective, and then we're going to drill down to Massachusetts and what's going on here. And I have with me two fabulous guests. Toni Acevedo is joining us again. She was here last week discussing post-traumatic stress disorder, and Frank Kashner from Marblehead. And thank you both. Toni comes from Salem, Massachusetts, and from North Andover. She has offices in both places. Thank you both for coming on over to Chelmsford today. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
So we're here today really because all of us are concerned about everyone having maximum access to health care. It's very stressful that we have people wanting to come to see us and they can't because their insurance won't cover it, or they can't pay the copay. Copays have gone from like $5 or $10 per to like, some of my people have $45 copays, which is, for some people, that's too much money. They can't pay that, or they have coinsurance. That little nasty coinsurance business is like, they have deductibles, they have a $3,000 deductible, and they can't come until they spend their $3,000, you know, it gets crazy.
Right.
But today we're focusing on Clinicians United, which is an organization of clinicians that have gotten together to help make healthcare better. And Pete, can we, before we formally start, can we just see the slide on what is Clinicians United? It's slide number 2. I'm sorry, slide number 3. That's it. So Clinicians United is a multidisciplinary group of behavioral health clinicians who are associate members of the Massachusetts Human Services Workers Union, which is what we are, SEIU 509. Okay, great. Thank you for that. So let's go back to your purpose. Tell us what you do, what your relationship is to the union, and what you're advocating for.
We are, first of all, thank you for having us here today. And this SEIU 509 Clinicians United group is a multidisciplinary group started by a few mental health professionals that came to the union and asked for assistance to discuss accessibility for mental health services in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. There was a gap as far as being able to meet together as mental health professionals and advocate for our clients to make sure that they have the ability to see a therapist and in a timely manner, and that are, they're able to provide services for them.
And can you, just for our listeners, there's actually an antitrust law that prohibits us from discussing our fees with each other. So that if one social worker or psychiatrist or psychologist, clinical social worker, psychotherapist, if somebody's making, let's say someone's making one amount and the other person's making a lesser amount, because they'll give different contracts to different people based on your zip code or whether they think they can get away with it if you don't contest it. It's been my experience. In fact, when I joined the Tufts, I was considering joining Tufts panel, and I'm not going to get into details, but I was shocked that the Tufts rates were so much lower than my Blue Cross Blue Shield rates. And then I spoke to a couple of my peers, and we're not allowed to discuss our rates. So I said, approximately what do you think you get for like a 90791 or a 90834, whatever? And I was shocked to find out that because I was applying for my licensure just 2 years ago in Massachusetts, they were trying to lowball me. Mm-hmm. And I actually didn't join Tufts because it was not negotiable. They would not budge on it. And that was, and also the rates have gone down. One of the reasons we're sitting here today is because they have lowered the rates of all behavioral health care practitioners over the years.
So the law that stops us from talking to each other is the Sherman antitrust law, mm-hmm. which was created to stop corporations mm-hmm. from acting in concert to screw consumers, mm-hmm. basically to set prices for everything from automobiles to phone service. Mm-hmm. And somehow that law is interpreted to act as if therapists are potentially a monopoly, wow. which is crazy.
Right.
Here we have therapists all over Massachusetts sitting, for the most part, alone in a room with a client, trying to be helpful. And so the notion that somehow we are more powerful than the insurance companies is just crazy.
They'd like to portray us as being these greedy people who just want more, which is not really nobody goes into this field because you want to be a multimillionaire, you know. I mean, that
Right.
never happens. So tell us a little bit about the, Frank, you can tell us about what the union has done so far in advocating for everyone's mental health benefits. And starting with that 1.5% we were talking about, how that's helpful.
So the union participates, the union, Clinicians United is part of SEIU Local 509. And Local 509 is already very effective politically. They understand the Massachusetts political process. They have lobbyists, they have people, lawyers who understand how to get bills passed. So where Clinicians United was originally formed to focus on enabling us to negotiate with insurance companies, other issues have come up since our founding. For example, there came a point where insurance companies, particularly Blue Cross, weren't paying people. They just weren't paying people. And on our listserv, people would say to each other, "Are you getting paid?" "No, I'm not getting paid."
Right, 6 months sometimes.
My rent
Right.
is due. How am I going to survive?
Right. That was forcing the issue, right.
So at that time, the union addressed that issue and said, okay, there needs to be some sort of penalty to these insurance companies, because Blue Cross would say things like, well, we're putting in a new computer
The
system.
software, right, I remember the
A
software.
new software, as if
Right.
somehow the world should stop or clinicians shouldn't get paid for services performed
Right.
while this is going on. And then after 6 months of not getting paid, if they owed me $312, they would give me a check for $312, even though they had possession of that money for 6 months when they shouldn't have.
So I want to add to this, also I've had clients who were not getting reimbursed for their medical insurance issues, hospitalizations, therapy, especially when they're doing the out-of-network benefit, you know, they get reimbursed. I have some out-of-network people who come to me without insurance with me. They say they have Tufts, but I'm on Blue Cross, and they were also not being paid back for like 6 months to 8 months. So our union benefits clinicians. If you're watching this, folks, and you are a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, psychotherapist, clinical social worker, this union can really benefit you in helping us help you stabilize the whole industry to provide better health care. And also, think about it, when you're getting paid regularly, you're more relaxed, you're comfortable, when you're paying your rent or your mortgage, your kids are getting the food on the table, you do better work. If you're stressing out on not having enough money and you can't pay your mortgage because the insurance company hasn't paid you for 6 months, you're going to be less calm in your life, perhaps, you know? So
You're going to need therapy.
you're going to need therapy, exactly. So long story short, the Clinicians United is great for clinicians and also for clients and patients. So tell us some of the things that you're working on in the union to help benefit the clinicians.
Well, the underlying notion that I want your viewers to get is that the main thing we want to be able to do is force the insurance companies to talk to us.
Right, to communicate better.
And so that covers every bit of the relationship. This is an insurance-driven healthcare system we have. I wish it wasn't. I actually agree with a recent letter in the Boston Globe by physicians who said, why are insurance companies in the middle of this relationship? But given that that is the relationship, it is a relationship of power in which they have all the power, we have none, so nothing can be discussed right now. Not just wages, we can't talk about clinical practices. We can't talk about the efficacy of care. We can't talk about what they will and won't reimburse us for.
Right, the
So,
silence.
Yeah,
Total
so the
silence.
first notion that I hope people get is that this is about the entire relationship, every aspect of it.
Right. So Pete, let's see slide number 4, please. The what Clinicians United is advocating for. Thank you. So here's a nice summary, folks. If you're a therapist or a psychiatrist or someone in healthcare watching this is what CU is about. Of course, making mental health, and all actually, we are involved in mental health, but this will affect all insurance companies on many levels, not just mental health. And also being able to have fair reimbursement policies for the clinicians as well as for the clients and patients. And then, of course, legislation. I love that CU has passed a rule that says for the claw. I want to talk about clawbacks. While we're on this, can we go to the clawback slide? Number 5, please. Number 5. Look at this. So this picture is funny. It comes from the website of Clinicians United. And basically what's been happening, why don't one of you talk about the clawback phenomena? Give us the headline and a synopsis, what that's about.
So the clawback bill...
It's so crazy. You can't make this stuff up.
It's House Bill 925, and it's going to be, right now, what currently stands is that at any point, the insurance company can come back after a few years and say, you owe us X amount of money for payment that we gave you for your client, for the time that you spent with your client.
Right, clawback, take the money back.
And this particular clawback bill is going to help mental health professionals have a certain limit between 60 or 90 days. The insurance company can go back and within that time frame. So there's a specific time frame.
They're going from 30 to 60? Is that what you said?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
60.
30 to 60, correct.
That's good. 60
Right,
is
correct.
max. 60 is max. That's really great.
So let's just mention why the justification that insurance companies give for clawing back. And the justifications are things like, we just discovered that this person should have had a secondary insurance 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And when they take the money back, they don't take the money, they don't say, okay, we paid you for Joe Smith,
Right.
and now we won't pay any more for Joe Smith. They say, we owe you $212 for all the clients you've seen
Oh my
for the
goodness.
last month, and we're taking all of that money back because Joe Smith should have been using his secondary insurance.
Oh, that's even
Right.
worse than I understood. I
It's
thought it was just for Joe
terrible.
Smith.
That's true.
This is
It's
wicked
terrible.
crazy. It's so crazy.
And the
Yeah.
clawback legislation is another good example of why your viewers should want there to be union involvement, because the clawback issue didn't even become an issue until after Clinicians United was formed, and we were
Wow.
already working on the foundation legislation
Wow.
to change the Sherman antitrust relationship. So then the clawback issue came up as some insurance companies escalated their clawback practices, and the union drafted the clawback legislation and is helping pursue it.
I love that. This
So-
is important for everybody, for patients, for clients, all
Yeah.
of us. At every level, they cannot. The insurance companies also they jam up the works. Like once they put a clawback in practice, everyone's having meltdowns. Like
Right.
the client, the therapist. Psychologically, it's so jarring. You know?
Yeah.
Now the other thing that's happened is let's do some bragging. Tell us about how the Clinicians United helped affect the law that if you're not paid within 45 days, 1.5% interest. Tell us about that. 'Cause that's a big win for the union.
So that stems from the practice of the companies just not paying and coming up with some lame excuse
Right.
because they felt like they could get away with it. So that's a big win. The clawback legislation is a big win. Having a seat at the Health Policy Commission table
Yes.
is a big win. So I would say
It's
a lot
awesome.
of venues are affected by it, and I think giving clinicians some hope.
I think it's great. I know.
And
I'm
a
proud.
voice.
I'm proud that we're organizing because therapists are not huge aggressive types like. We're not like banker types. We're not, fighter types. We fight for other things, but not like money and rights and law. I want to take a moment. If you're interested, if you're in the healthcare profession and you want to join this union, could we see slide number 2, please, with Melody's, Hugo's information?
Or if you want your clinician
If
to
you want your
join the
clinician,
union.
great. Frank is
Right.
even smart.
Yeah.
Great.
No,
Tell your
really.
clinician, everyone out there in therapy, in the camera, and this is just going to show all over Massachusetts. But wherever you are in Massachusetts or the world, I don't know where you are. Thank you. If you want information, now don't contact Frank or Toni or myself for this one. Contact Melody Hugo. She's at the SCIU union, and she will be able to help you. Her phone number is there. The office is posted. Take a note. And also, there are many benefits to joining Clinicians United. We're not going to go over all of them, but there's lots of discounts, and You want to share, are there any top favorite discounts that you love, being a union member?
I used the Union Plus mortgage through Wells Fargo, and I got a $1,000 credit at the end
Excellent.
of the closing.
That's really good.
And they also have short-term disability coverage.
Short-term
It's
disability.
very difficult for being in private practice to have group coverage. So being part of the
Excellent.
union, you have
Group
you can even
coverage.
have maternity coverage if you wanted to.
This is huge. And also I noticed there's a car rental discount. They have a
Yes.
car rental program. Like, you know, many of
I believe Sprint also. cell
Sprint
phone
has
services.
something, yeah. But the main thing is, I mean, honestly, I didn't join the union to get the benefits, but there are some good benefits. And there's even a tire discount, like, you know, for your car. There's all kinds of things. But the important thing is being able to support better mental health practices in our state, because that's where we're hurting.
Can I say
please.
something about the dues structure? Is
Yes.
very unique
It's
and
very-
interesting.
It is.
So for every clinician who is a full-time private practice clinician, there are 2 or 3 clinicians who are part-time private practice
Like
because
me,
they have a
right.
full-time, some of them have full-time jobs with agencies, with hospitals, with schools. So the dues were structured to allow for that, so that anyone who joins can pay in proportion to the earnings they get from their private practice.
Right, it can be
And
low.
that's unique in
It is unique.
all of union
Yes.
existence.
It's true, because usually you pay a big lump sum, like you know, a couple $100s a year, and this is broken down to monthly. It hits your credit
It's
card.
very affordable.
Whether
between,
it's $5 or $50, whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
If you're making a healthy 6-figure income, you can pay more. If you're making
Right.
less, you pay
That's
less.
right.
Yeah. No, it's very nice. So let's see.
And we should say something, Lisa, if I may,
please.
about how clients benefit, how, so most of your audience are not healthcare professionals.
No.
So how do they benefit when they or a child or a parent or a couple wants to talk to somebody? And I'll just mention a few, and Toni, I'm sure you have a few, but one benefit is that they have someone working on, or an organization working on keeping clinicians on healthcare panels.
Oh, that's a
Lots
very
of
big point.
clinicians just quit the panel because they get so fed up.
Right. And the panel, for those of you not in the field, is like when you belong to, like, I'm on Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm on the panel. So that's,
Right.
we call it the panel, you know, whatever you're on. Tufts has a panel,
Right.
Beacon has a panel, Mass Health has a panel, you know. So the question is, you know, most of my friends from New York, I'm originally from New York City, and they've been doing this like 30 years. And I changed careers at age 40, so I'm doing this like 15 years. But my friends who started like 30, 40 years ago,
Yeah.
none of them are taking insurance.
Yeah.
They completely went off. They were so frustrated, it was driving them crazy.
Yeah.
And they have sliding scales. They work with, you know, some people will see you even for copay because it's easier than all the paperwork and drama.
That's right.
right.
They did the math. The hours it takes to work with insurance companies, you know, if you do $50 or $45, whatever, it's almost the same as
Yeah.
getting the money and then. No. So yeah, we want to be on panels. We want to at least be on 1 or 2 panels minimum, you know. And all right, let's see what else is happening. What is your advice to people who are having issues accessing mental health services through their insurance company?
Good
That is a good question.
question.
If they're having any issues accessing a mental health therapist,
You know, and when they you know, yeah,
Yeah, they went to.
they get
Okay.
denied.
They went to Psychology Today. They
Right.
found 2 therapists, and they contacted those therapists and learned that those therapists no longer take that insurance. So what should they do?
What should they do?
And I actually, being a psychotherapist was a 4th career for me.
Oh, really? You too?
And one of my careers was 19 years as a shop steward at General Electric in Lynn.
Interesting.
So I do believe in strong advocacy,
Sure.
strong action, and so I really encourage anyone out there who has ever had any
These
issue
people.
with getting mental health care or any health care to call their state rep, to write a letter to the editor, to find other people in a similar circumstance, because for everyone who joins Clinicians United as a provider, really large-scale change will depend on consumers, on clients, on patients. demanding that they have access to care, access to good care, and access to affordable care.
Exactly.
I'll
And-
piggyback on that and just say it's going to be really important to also, sometimes as a therapist, you don't have enough time slots given in your schedule, and a time may open up for you. So I would definitely insist that the client continue to call and you know, hopefully they'll get a response, but also definitely what you said as far as speaking out, talking to your legislators, state representatives, state senator,
Yeah.
editors. We need more therapists to be part of the panel.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and as you say, take care of yourself
Right.
and advocate for change, but
Yes.
definitely take care of yourself.
Well,
Yeah,
and some
definitely.
therapists, like I know, for instance, there are certain insurance companies that our colleagues from our group, Toni and I co-chair the National Association of Social Workers Private Practice Special Interest Group once a month. By the way, if you're a therapist, come visit us in Methuen on the fourth Friday of the month. It's a great group. Anyway, we've learned that like certain companies like Beacon, I won't list all of them, but some of them are so harsh to work with that people are dropping like flies off of them.
Yes.
Then you get a call from a Beacon person and like, what are you going to do? So if because of Clinicians United, that's going to be made better. They're going to improve the rates and the response rate and the communication, as Frank talked about, so that people will be available on the panel for Beacon and for
Yes.
all the other panels that are neglected. People are dropping off like flies because they're
Right.
such poor communicators, or
Right.
I know certain people have like faxed in the claim like 10 times and then Beacon said, never got it, never got
Right.
it. It can drive you crazy, and then you can
Right.
forget it, I'm dropping off this panel, you know?
I want to
Yeah.
advocate also that parents try to work with their child's school to get services provided in the school, including allowing private practice clinicians to come into the school. So I went into the Salem Public Schools for years with the cooperation of the school. I was being paid by the insurance companies, which made it affordable for the schools, and I was able to see kids in the schools to help with social and emotional skills.
terrific.
And so I also encourage parents who are having trouble getting care for their child or getting their child to take time from Little League to go see a therapist. You can imagine how that goes over. I encourage those parents to call the school and say, okay, I would like these services to be provided in the school. How will you help us?
Thank you for that, Frank. So let's again, can we see slide number 2 again to show for contact for Melody? Hugo, if you're a clinician in behavioral health and you'd like to join this union or you have questions about it, please visit Melody Hugo or go to the website. There's also a website which I should have put on 2 minutes. There's 2 minutes left? Ooh. Okay, great. So this is Clinicians United.
And you can sign up on the website.
And you can sign up on the website.
The
the
website-
website's right there. It's SCIU509.org. Okay.
It's www.cliniciansunited.org.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cliniciansunited.org.
That's
Oh,
it.
how did I miss
Yes.
that? I thought
That's
it was
okay.
So cliniciansunited.org. Well, Melody will tell you how to sign up.
Yes.
It's the biggest bargain, worth every penny. You'll sleep better knowing that these wonderful advocates are going to help us improve health care in Massachusetts. So we have a couple of minutes left, and let's see, what do we want to cover in terms of what's coming up? So
Yeah, so let's
talk about what's coming up.
sketch
We have
through,
two-
let's sketch the future quickly.
we have 1 minute.
Okay,
Wrap
1
it up.
minute. So legislation has been filed to reverse the relationship with the insurance companies, to nullify the Sherman Antitrust Act. So that we don't know how long that will take.
pending.
But we're paying attention to that, and everyone should pay attention to that.
Very important.
And then there is other legislation, like the clawback legislation, that people should also pay attention to, and then people should participate in any way they can. This isn't just for clinicians. This
Right.
is for the
Everybody.
healthcare consuming
Right.
public.
So let me thank you. We have about 30 seconds left. Let's put up the slide again to thank slide number 6. I want to thank Toni and Frank for coming in today. Toni Acevedo and Frank Kashner, you've been wonderful to be on the show. And we will probably do another show up in the future when going forward, once some more things happen. I'm keeping an eye on the pulse of the union. And it's been a pleasure having you here today. You can see this is the beginning. This is the beginning. We're in the incubator stage of this union, really, even though, how old is it?
adversarial.
Not at all.
No.
I